It's fun to find creative ways to build around specific crafting stations. The one that usually gives me the most trouble is the Galdr Table. I mean, it's a giant tree stump, like what am I even supposed to do with that? A wizard tower is the obvious solution, but I wanted to take a crack at building something different. When I was younger, I wanted to live in an apartment downtown with a window that overlooked the entire city. I never got to have that view, so I built it in Valheim. Hi, I'm Klaus, and welcome to Mimir Company. Getting caught in the rain is a good excuse to pop inside, dry off, and spend some coin. And I'm kind of a sucker for an old bookstore. The name Mimir Company and the face of this building are a nod to the famous Shakespeare Company in Paris, which provided plenty of inspiration for this build. Referencing real-world architecture and design can teach you a lot about building. It taught me to better balance the scope of a building, or even just where to put a staircase. It can also help to break a creative block. That's good, because banging my head against the wall doesn't help as much as I'd like it to. This building is 4 stories tall, with each floor being 5 meters in height. That gives plenty of headspace to make each room feel comfortable. Bookshop is on the ground floor, a studio apartment on the second, and on the third is the kind of loft I wish I had when I was younger. Not a bachelor pad. I was way too nerdy for that. Before we go inside, there's a couple of things I want to point out about the exterior. First is the roof. I usually angle the roof over whichever dimension is longest. In this case, it's lengthwise, front to back. If we rotate it 90 degrees, then here's what the roof looks like. This looks great, but to avoid a higher peak, I'd have to have a more complicated roof line in the back. Did that bird just break my trim? I decided to keep it simple, but mostly I wanted the loft to have a great view of the town. If you know me, then you know I love a good view. Next, I want to highlight the chimney. This is a single chimney that provides ventilation for 3 fireplaces. To do this properly, make sure there's 2 square meters of ventilation space. This way the smoke doesn't stack up too heavily. You're looking for about 5 to 6 meters of height between fires. Another good idea is to create an exit vent on the side and then cover it up with ivy. While we're on the topic of ivy, it combined with some trim creates a wonderful contrast on these flat side walls. These would be very boring to look at otherwise. If you didn't know, you can purchase ivy seeds in-game now, so no mods necessary. Just be sure to tip your local bog witch. She works hard to keep us supplied. Looks like the rain's back, so come on in and let's do some browsing. Welcome to the Bookshop. In RPGs, magic can often be sourced from spellbooks. That's why I thought a bookshop would be a nice setting for the Galdr Table and its upgrades. Just inside the door is a big fireplace to help you dry off and keep things toasty. It's a bit excessive, but I kinda like that. Less isn't always better, you know? Speaking of excess, books, and more books line the shelves. Each of these are individually placed by hand. It's a lot of work, but it's totally worth it. For those of you who are new, books and bookshelves don't actually exist in Valheim. To create the illusion, we individually place signs or item stands one by one in a row. Personally, I like to have them look a little messy because books are never the same size. Also, you can save some space by using goblin totems or other items as bookends. I had a lot of free time the day I put this room together. In the back is a reading nook, but really this helps to extend the rested bonus area just a bit further. Everything really comes together to create a nice set for the Galdr Table. In fact, it's got me trying to think up new ideas for other crafting stations. It might be time to try something other than a blacksmith or a workshop. This central bookshelf divides the space and gives you a clear walk to the stairs. It was important to get the positioning right, because too far back or too far forward and it just becomes an annoying obstacle. I built the stairs in the back because my goal was for both apartments to have windows on 2 walls. We definitely got the best views with this layout. There's a gap between the stairs and the walkway on each floor. This opens up the space a bit and makes it easier to navigate. At the top, above the stairs, I added a large window just to let in some natural light. I wanted a unique space for the Galdr Table, but I also took a different approach to player housing. Instead of a traditional home, I built 2 apartments. The size of the building could have been doubled by adding more apartments on the back. This is big enough though. Here on the second floor is the studio apartment. It's a good size, just big enough to be cozy. I'm willing to bet that most of us don't spend a lot of time sleeping in Valheim, which is why I don't really favor large bedrooms. That's space that we can use elsewhere. You've got the essentials in here: a bed, a fireplace, and some storage. Not bad. The views are pretty good. You can just peek over the nearby rooftops and maybe catch a glimpse of the water. You get what you pay for, but in this market, rent on this room probably isn't cheap. I mean, have you seen how much Haldor is charging for eggs right now? Oof. Up on third is the loft, and it is spacious. This is the top floor, so I didn't bother with a walkway outside. Instead, I added some extra square footage inside. Does this go against everything I just talked about in the studio? Yeah, but who cares? Rules are made to be broken. The room being bigger acts to space everything out, though both apartments do have the same necessities. In the loft, there's a little more flair added to each one. For starters, there's a subtle evolution of the fireplace from one floor to the next. In fact, let's look at them side by side. Everything is more condensed in the studio. The mouth is smaller, the pillars aren't decorated, there's nothing atop the banner, and the bench is a simple wooden one. In the loft, the mouth is open, the columns extend all the way to the roof, and there's a mantle over it. Dark wood beams give the columns a bit of decoration, which makes them stand out more. I've used this technique before on Mountain Manor. It's a simple way to elevate this kind of column. The bench is upgraded to dark marble, and there's a small table in front. The final touch is an Eikthyr trophy over the banner. All of this combines to make this fireplace much more dramatic. The stairs lead up one level to where the bed is lofted. This is intentional because the best view of town is from this window. What a view to wake up to. I would have liked to have the armor stands up here, but my goal was to have the room be as open as possible. Extending the size of this area would have conflicted with that. Not only is the room longer, but the window on the side wall is too. Like I said earlier, you get what you pay for. Mimir Company is a very different approach to the Galdr Table and player housing. I started this build with a tricky crafting station, and somehow it turned into this cozy little spot in town. Food for thought. We can recontextualize how we approach base design in Valheim. Picture a furniture store built around the workbench, or disguising the item refiner in a coffee shop. There's more space to iterate on this idea, and I'm excited to see where that might lead us. With that, I'm going to grab a coffee and enjoy the rain. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.